All right, Kirk Herbstreit is not having it. He's fully triggered. Ryan's got all the words.
He's been saying what I've been ranting about over and over the last few weeks. Florida State fans coming at him and at the in his Twitter mentions, his X mentions, whatever you want to call it. Um, why is Florida State not in the playoff? Because Alabama is better. I'm gonna read a little bit of his rant right
Do
here.
it.
Because Alabama is better. Period. So is Texas. So is Michigan. So is Washington. So is Oregon. So is Georgia. I watch 10 to 15 games a week live from September to early December. I think I'm allowed to have an opinion on who I think is better. If SFU doesn't like it, that it's the best four, tell the conference commissioners to change the protocol to most deserving. Until then, I and everyone else is certainly allowed to give an opinion in a subjective discussion. Don't like it, change it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to know who caused this problem for Florida State, they can look in the mirror because they were the ones who did. And I mean, that's just all there is to it. They were one of the group of teams that they were in a league that did not want there to be expansion. Um, I don't know, Ryan. I don't really. I mean, he goes deep into it, like going back into the '90s and the 2000s, and he's probably tired of it, and I don't blame him. I mean, Florida State did not, is not one of the best four teams. Were they one of the most four deservings? Yes, they were, but there are no rules here. I mean, it's not the best four. It's not the most deserving, and it's just what the committee can explain, and that's it.
Yeah, and this is what they felt was the easiest explanation. I do think that was one of their easier explanations. I get where they're going. And I feel like it's not coming off as hate towards Florida State. I have no hate towards Florida State at all.
Okay.
It just I actually watched back a lot of the Clemson game today, and it's just that Clemson team just wasn't great.
No.
And the it just that was such a struggle fest, man. And it was too often, it was too late in the game, multiple times throughout the year. And yes, not having your quarterback does matter. That is who you are right now as a team. And so I don't think Florida State's one of the four best teams.
So
It is what it
so
is.
I'm sorry. Here's what's going on. There's a couple things going on here at once. First of all, the Florida State people are pissed, and I understand that. I'm sympathetic to that. I get that.
Me too. Me too.
They've been. It's been 10 years since they've had a shot to win this thing. They were not going to win it this year, but you know, but it's been 10 years since they had their opportunity to win the national championship. They felt like this was one of the years where they could do that. Um, I don't know, even with Travis, if they get that opportunity. I don't know, but when he's gone, there it's done. So I understand their frustration. Also, Ryan, the logic doesn't always make the most sense from the committee, which I completely share their frustration on that front. But the fact of the matter is that we're at where we're at with this thing. And, you're in a league that helped this. And I don't want to get on that whole rant, but you twice have signed back up with this league, and you keep shaking around like you're going to leave. You can't leave, and you can't do anything about the committee. So get past it. I'll tell you one thing you want to get past here, Ryan. This is a 53-pound chair that will hold every ounce and inch of Dean Leggy, which is really saying something when you're 6'4", 235 pounds. This is the Villa chair counter height, okay? Black and red and black, just like the Dawgs. This is a slightly different than what I'm sitting in right now, but I want to get y'all to take a look at it. EcoPoly, our buddies down there, making these EcoPoly in Eastman, Georgia, if you're keeping track at home, Dodge County. They're making this out of completely recycled plastics, Ryan. It's awesome. They're very comfortable, too, by the way. Not as comfortable as it would have been for Georgia to be in the playoff, which they're not. But you don't see Georgia fans going absolutely haywire over this. I mean, Georgia lost a game by 3 points. They had won 29 games in a row. They lost by 3 points. There's people, my in-laws are good people. They are. And one of the friends of the in-laws said to me, he goes, and this is a guy just kind of watches sports, he goes, so what's the explanation for them being left out? And I said, I really don't have one. I don't, because I don't. but you don't see Kirk Herbstreit going nuts on them. He's had enough of the Florida State folks. You're not the best. Now, I want to put this one more caveat before I throw it back to you. It does not. The argument that they're making, what happens in the Orange Bowl, is irrelevant to that argument. Their argument is pre-Orange Bowl, and I'm going to respect that. Okay. Now we'll see what happens in the Orange Bowl, but that Georgia loss to Texas, they still should have been in 2018. I mean, it was obvious when Oklahoma got smashed by LSU that Georgia should have been in that, but they didn't do that because Georgia had recently lost. It's brutally unfair for Florida State. It's not right, but I got to tell you, it's not right for Georgia to be left out either, frankly.
No, I mean, it's not. But that was the problem this year, was there were more than 4 teams that had a real say in it. And that it bit Florida State in the ass.
Yep.
I mean, they were part of the vote that said, no, we want to keep it to 4. I think I don't even know why. Why did that matter so much to them?
Which part?
Keeping it to 4 so they had a better chance to win?
Well, there was so much distrust at the conference level. When Oklahoma and Texas came into the SEC, the ACC, not specifically, but the Big 12, Pac-12, Big 10. I don't think I can't recall the Big 10 situation. There was so much distrust at the commissioner level that they would not move forward with expansion of the playoff. And it was not the SEC that killed it. The SEC was like, okay, we'll go forward, but we're fine at 4 too. And, those leagues could have voted in an 8-team playoff or a 12-team playoff. It almost happened. And when Texas, if memory serves correct, when Texas and Oklahoma came in, all trust was gone. And from that point forward, though, to today, you've had a change at the Big 10, a change at the ACC, if I'm not mistaken, definitely at the Big 12, and definitely at the Pac-12. So the landscape's changed dramatically, and the only person that's still sitting at the table is the SEC commissioner, the most powerful person in collegiate sports, and one of the most powerful people in sports, Greg Sankey. So that's really kind of what happened, was trust. It went away. COVID didn't help with that, with the way that everybody, with the alliance, all this. So, and it just, there's been a lot of mistrust. But I have sympathy for Florida State fans. I have none for the administrators, 0. And I don't want to hear about, I saw your video about the state of Florida's attorney general. Listen, I understand that the bulk of that is waving a political flag, and that's your prerogative. But there's got to be something more important in Florida than suing the college football playoff for one of your teams not getting in. Are you going to sue about UCF not winning the national championship in 2017, or do they not have a big enough constituency?
Yeah, what about them not making the playoff? I thought that were they not as important as Florida State?
They weren't, because the governor was not running for president at the time. So that's part of it's not part, that's all of what's going on right now.
Yeah, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. And not to mention, it's just this is way too short a turnaround for anything meaningful to come out of this if you're Florida State.
Yeah, do the math here.
Even if this went to a court that decided, yes, this is wrong.
What, are there going to be an injunction and they're not going to play the playoff?
So far from now. That would be so far from now. You can't accomplish anything important right now.
Well, but that's, I don't think Mike
in the Orange Bowl.
I don't think Mike Norvell is saying, hey, I wish the Attorney General of the state of Florida would sue. And he doesn't care about this. It's so stupid. That's what's going on. I do not know the name of the Attorney General in Georgia, I'm sorry to say. But if that person did this, it would be a complete embarrassment for the state. It would. And Georgia's done, as a state, some pretty embarrassing things through history. This wouldn't be up there with that, but it would be kind of, for the modern day, it would be kind of the stupidity of all stupidities. And there's been a lot of stupidity in Georgia through the years. Not as much as in Florida, I will mind you, but
I don't know.
They're pretty good at that.
Everything's on limits. Cross that line, man.
No, hey, listen, I try not to cross the line to go into Florida. I only go down there for certain situations. namely when Georgia plays football down there. But I look, I'm sympathetic to the Florida State fans. They did get jobbed, but I mean, so that's
So did
that's
Georgia.
like
So
what
I
else
mean,
is there to say?
so did Georgia.
Yeah, I mean Georgia got jobbed too. I mean, you're telling me Washington's better than Georgia
I mean, did Georgia not get job more?
in history?
Obviously, they weren't a 13-0 conference
Oh, you're
champion.
talking about yeah.
But
I mean,
I don't
listen.
think there's
So this
anyone
is
that
the
thinks
whole
Florida State's
crux of the
better than
thing.
Georgia.
This is the whole crux of it, Ryan. Which is it? This is where I'm totally on board. This is where I'm totally on board.
Well, this problem only lasts a little bit longer. It only
This is
lasts
where
a
I'm
little bit
totally on
longer.
board with Florida State people. What are the rules? What are the rules? There are no rules.
That's the
Fight Club.
point. That's the point.
Yes.
That's what I've been trying to say is these are 13 people without a lot of guidelines.
Or
Of
ones
course
they
it's
choose to
partial.
It doesn't.
That's it though. I'm not mad. I just am a little like I'm sick of seeing all this.
Greg McElroy nailed it when he said all they're going to do is get the 4 that they can explain. And quite frankly, these are the 4 that they can explain. Here's why. Because Alabama
just because of logic, not actually watching football, that was like the logic way they could explain this.
Yeah, I mean, but you can't watch football and say that they've got the best 4 teams because they don't. You can't know math and say they have the most deserving 4 teams because they don't. So they've got both. But like the outrage is tuned up super high. It's like mad. They're like Mad Dog going crazy at the television screen, which is totally entertaining in like a sports entertainment kind of way. But like after a while, you're
I can't handle him and Stephen A.
on like, why are you still screaming right now? Like it's over. It's what it is. Why didn't you beat the Gators by more? Why didn't you beat Boston College by more? Why didn't you handle your business big time against Clemson and come within a play of losing that? They should have lost that game.
Yeah.
If Dabo is a functional head coach, they lose that game.
Yeah. Yeah. But all teams had their struggles this year. Like, yes, you can point to games where Georgia, you point to the Auburn game or you point to the Georgia Tech game even or whatever. But it wasn't like that, and it wasn't as often. And it was the same thing with Texas. It's the same way we talked about Texas.
Georgia did not come down to the last play of the game in terms of losing it this season, in terms of the regular 12 games. I don't know how many times that happened with Florida State, but, Boston College, Clemson, these games, they were unimpressive. Louisville, Florida, Clemson, Boston College, Miami. That's 5 games off the top of my head. They did not look good. What's that?
Pitt.
I did not see the Pitt game, so I can't say.
They just
what 5 games did Georgia play bad in? When they were beating UAB's brains in, or Kentucky, or Ole Miss, or when they were thumping the Gators, neutral field. When they were, which game was it? When they were beating top 10 Missouri? Which game were they not that great? The difference between Georgia fans and their stupidity, of which there's plenty, please don't trigger me with this, is that Georgia fans are a lot like Kentucky basketball fans. And they're like, oh, well, they play, they won by like 1 million, but they didn't look good. Well, who cares if they looked good? Florida State should have cared. That's who should have cared. I'll tell you that right now, because that cost them.
Because the eye test matters.
It does matter.
It matters.
It's going to matter more. It's going to matter how good you look in your dress from here on out. And this was the season where it really did matter. And when Florida State, who plays in the weakest league in America, Brian, the weakest league, it's worse than the Pac-12. It's worse than the Big 12. They are crying. You beat the 5th best SEC team, if my math's right. Georgia, Bama, Ole Miss, and Mizzou, LSU at 5. You beat the 5th best team in that league. You didn't beat the top 4. They lost to Bama. They lost to Ole Miss. And they'd have lost to Georgia, and they beat Missouri. So that's where you're at. Your best win is over the, I don't know, it's not mid-level SEC, but it's in that universe of middle. It ain't the top. pleased with the. I mean, Kirk's right. And I know everybody. Why do people hate Kirk Herbstreit? Like, what is their problem? Is because he was getting emotional 2 or 3 years ago? Like, why can't y'all just like, he's right about this? He's correct. I mean, the infatuation with hating, I understand why people hate Urban Meyer. But the infatuation, everybody hates everybody on TV. I hate Gary Danielson. I hate Kirk Herbstreit.
Because if it's
Damn,
not
man,
perfect about their team all the time,
you just
then
sound miserable. You sound like a miserable person. That's all. I would like Kirk to be more honest on TV, by the way.
yeah,
That's what I would like.
I feel like on Twitter and like the little side stuff, it comes out a lot more. But I don't know. Maybe it's the company. I don't know.
Kirk, here's my thing. And, we see each other on the sideline before games sometimes. Hey, listen, man, don't read the comments. Do you read comments? See, this one over here on my right, this guy, he'll read the comments sometimes. I'm not reading y'all's comments. I don't care. I don't care if you call us FAT. I don't care if you think I'm stupid. I don't care. We don't care. It doesn't bother me. So I just say, hey, as Dave Chappelle would say, keep it in the comments. This is real. Hey, we'll see you on the next video.